morning, everybody. How are you? So, this video is going to be more of a serious nature. I was looking through YouTube, and quite a while back, I found one of Fraudy's old videos entitled A History of Food Problems Story Time. Now, this video was done near the beginning of her channel. This was back at a time when Fraudy was still being a little bit honest about herself. So she got on camera, decided to talk about her history of food problems. And I wanted to give my thoughts on it because for those that do not know, I dealt with BED. I am in recovery for that. I've been in recovery for a while. So as someone that has been there and is no longer there, looking at someone who is very much still there, because anyone who's been watching Fraudy, you know that her problem with food is completely out of control. It's taken over her life, it's consuming her, and she has been talking about getting WLS. Now, I've said many times through my reacts, uh, it's if she gets WLS, it's not going to help her at all. Even if she got on and off the table safely, which would be almost impossible given all of her health issues. But if she did, it would not be the fix that she's wanting it to be, because you can't have a problem with food the way that she does and expect that a little bit of surgery is going to fix it. So I wanted to give my honest thoughts on this. And for anyone out there who's watching this video, if you have BED or you have had BED, and this video might trigger you in some way and you can't watch, I totally understand. But I wanted to give some serious thoughts here to her issues because they're still ongoing and they've completely gotten out of control. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and this react. Again, it's more of a serious nature, and I'm going to be speaking from the perspective of somebody who has been there and dealt with it. So let's get to, shall we?
I thought today I would do something a bit different. I thought today that I would do just sit down and talk, kind of a reflection within myself. Um, I never actually sat down and journaled or talked about my history with weight gain, weight loss, my relationship with food. And I haven't planned.
See, that's your first mistake, Foodie. You are already describing your food issues in terms of a relationship. And any relationship is personal and it's intimate. You're describing it in an emotional nature. Food is not emotional. It is not something that can give you love or comfort. It can't give you a hug or a kiss or give you encouraging words. Food is just something that we consume to give us energy to go out into the world and do things, but it is not something that can love you back. This is why if you have an issue with food, you have to take all emotional anchors off of food. You can't look at it or treat it in an emotional way. Can food make a person happy? Of course. But you can't not use it as a way to feel love or comfort. You can't use it as a way to be a callback to happier times with perhaps people you love, people you knew. You can't use it as a callback for, say, your childhood or things that make you happy. You can't use it as a substitute for anything in your life that was happy or make you happy. You have to look at it for exactly what it is. Something that is not living, that you consume so that you can go out into the world and get stuff done. Okay? First rule of thumb, take all the emotional anchors off of food. All of them, every single one of them. Don't use it for medicine. Don't use it for healing. Treat it as it should be treated. Look at it the way it should be looked at. So you've always wanted a relationship. In your heart of hearts, you want someone to love you. Although you are not doing what you need to do to be someone that someone would want to love. You've gone the absolute opposite way. You are deplorable. You are selfish hearted. You are self absorbed. You are narcissistic. People have pointed out these things to you all over the internet, and yet you don't see how you are as a problem. You don't think that anything should be fixed. You think that everyone should just walk around those bad parts of you and excuse them just because you're a YouTuber and you're making a paycheck. You are not about that life of self improvement. You're all about that life of just compensation. I'm a YouTuber. I have a big channel. I make a paycheck. So I'm going to overcompensate or excuse using the money. I'm going to find people that have a weakness. And if their weakness is something financial, I'm going to play that weakness to my advantage by saying to those people, you need money, I need companionship, so let's make a deal. You give me companionship, you give me friendship, and I'll pay you. And that's been the cycle ever since. If you improved yourself greatly, if you changed yourself, maybe somebody somewhere might honestly love you for free versus paying for fake love. But going back to the problem with the food, wrapping yourself completely around food to the point where you are using it as a way to describe a relationship. If you are treating food correctly, you don't have a relationship with it.
Or scripted this video, it's just going to kind of be sort of a stream of consciousness and, well, with formed sentences and everything like that. But I thought that I would start from my first memories with my relationship with food. Because when I was a baby, I don't remember. I know that I was bottle fed. That's about it. But once in a while, I'd like to do these kind of videos, on top of everything else. And I don't know what I'm going to do for October, because October, I really want to make the whole month. Like, I want to seriously do a Vlogtober this year and make it all creepy stuff, because that's part of who I am. A big part of who I am. I've always loved creepy things, even from a young age. I've always liked really creepy stuff as a kid, like Beetlejuice. Um, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Even Freddy
So you like creepy stuff that does that explain you wanting Natter so badly? Anyway, let's keep going.
Krueger. So I've just always had these weird fears as a kid as well, fears of witches and ghosts, but I've always loved the macabre and the dark and the creepy. So I really want to try to make that kind of like October. So anyway, this video will be about my history with, because this is a lifelong thing for me. And this is a major part of the reason why this is not going to change for me overnight. Um,
Yeah, but here we are, like over 5 years later, and you're expecting that WLS is going to change it overnight. And anybody who's ever gone through WLS knows that it's not a quick fix, and it's a complete lifestyle change. The way you think, the way you move, the way you eat, the people you hang around, the environment you put yourself in, complete lifestyle change, even without the WLS. If you have issues, addictions, problems, and you're hanging around a certain environment or around people, or you've got bad habits, all of it has to change. You can't leave anything toxic intact. You have to change it all. You can't go halfway with it. So you've been on YouTube for over 5 years, and you made it literally your business to destroy yourself with one of your issues. You took a problem, and instead of treating it, you turned it into something profitable for you. You gave it a job. And now that's your content. And there's nothing else on your channel that you can turn into content that doesn't revolve around food. You put yourself in a corner. You took something that you had no business monetizing, and you monetized it. And because you're monetizing it, and because you're making money on it, and you've even found people on YouTube that they have that sort of fetish and are going to back it up and encourage you, you're not going to let it go. Because if you let it go, then what? What are you going to show people on YouTube? What's going to be your content? The thing is, people on your channel have even told you, we are here for you. We're here to watch your content no matter what you do. They've given you that reassurance that if you wanted to change, they were right there with you. They have said to you, you want to get healthy? You want to eat healthy? We encourage that. You've come on camera and told everyone all about your health problems, every single one. You related to your audience how sick you are, and your audience members worry for you. They're concerned for your health more so than you are, and yet you won't change the program. You just won't get better. You just won't. You know what, Fraudy? I've been saying for a while. I think part of your problem is during this time period that we're looking at, there was still a person named Chantal. But over the course of time, the persona that you created for YouTube, Foodie Beauty, took over. You let that completely take over because the person, Chantal Marie, is lonely, doesn't have many friends, doesn't get a whole lot of attention. But the persona, Foodie Beauty, the part that you created for yourself, can turn on a camera any time of the day or night and people want to talk to. The persona, Foodie Beauty, earns a paycheck. You put all of your worth in a persona versus the person. Hence the reason why the person, Foodie Beauty, now her life is in ruins because you didn't take care of yourself off camera. You were very immersed and obsessed with the persona on camera. And this is not me being sympathetic towards you. You're an awful, deplorable person. Everybody knows it. This is what you've shown us on YouTube for the last 5 years. You made it your business to be as offensive and vulgar and profane as possible. You created that with every video, with every live stream. You created that. You put that out there on YouTube. You put it out there in the universe. And now you have to reap what you sow. You planted those seeds and now you have to reap a bitter harvest. But during this time period, there was a little bit of honesty here. Just a little bit, not much, but still. So your problem with food has been lifelong. And you didn't think that was a problem? You didn't think that at some point you'd have to address it, that you'd have to correct it, that it wouldn't one day catch up with you? It has caught up with you. You're over 500 pounds. You have a myriad of health problems, some that we know about, some that we don't. You have an enlarged heart. You have an extreme fatty liver. You have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. You have diabetes. You have high, dangerously high blood sugar. There's so many things. You've had blood clots in your lungs, sleep apnea, all of it. And yet, you still don't think you have to slow down. And still you're looking for a quick fix to a problem that you slowly built up and made worse over the last 5 years.
And it's going to take a lot of trying my best and willpower and not giving up and fighting and all kinds of things to correct these lifelong behaviors. So basically, and this time around, I want to be more focused on actions and not just words. So things that you'll see in my vlog, I really want to try to just, if I'm doing a lot of talking, I want it to be about things that I'm doing in my vlog. I don't want it to just be things that I plan on doing, which I've learned a lot about in my that Unfuck Yourself self-help book, is that, you know, actions do speak louder than words. You don't use
I want to stress from here on out that I want everybody to know I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a therapist. I am not here to diagnose Chantal. I'll leave that to the professionals that know what they're doing and they've got the education. I'm just here to give the perspective of somebody who's had the same problem that she's had just not at the level that she's at, but still, I'm bringing that to the table. And in my opinion, her problem is so extreme and out of control that she's way past the point where something simple is not going to work. Her problems and her issues are complex and layered. Therefore, the treatment is also going to have to be complex and layered. All these issues have to be addressed all at the same time. The mental issues, the emotional issues, the triggers, the physical issues, it all has to be addressed together. Everything top and bottom has to be addressed. You can't leave one thing out and work on another thing. It all has to be done at the same time. Now, Foodie, she's done simple things, tiny things, trying to fix some of her issues. She's done the water fast. She's done the juice fast. She's holistic medicine, or at least she's acted like she did those things, even though they didn't last long. Little, simple, tiny things are not going to fix a great, big, complex, multi layered problem. At this stage, Foodie, the only thing that's going to work for you is inpatient, strict, locked down inpatient. You have to be somewhere where people are going to tell you no all the time. You're going to have to hear things you don't want to hear. You're going to have to be around people that are not beezers or your family that you can manipulate. That's the only thing that's going to save you if you want to be saved. But WLS is not going to be the answer. All that a surgeon can do is reduce the size of your stomach. But even if they did that, what about the issues in your head? What about them? They can't fix that. They can't remove those things. So if you got WLS and your stomach was smaller, the urges, those little voices in your head that talk to you are going to continue. You're going to want to eat and eat and eat. And all you would do is make yourself incredibly ill or even rupture your stomach and you'd have to go to the hospital. And that could be life threatening. Everybody around you, your family, your friends, doctors, counselors, they all tell you the same things. You need the therapy. You need regular checkups. You need to get on top of your health. You need to cut out the fast food. You need to slow down your portions. You need to cut out the carbs and the sugar and the salt. Isn't it amazing that everybody is saying the same things? Do you think maybe there might be some truth in that? That maybe they're all saying the same things because it's stuff that you need to do and yet you're unwilling to do, therefore you're not going to do it? But there's a reason why there's a common thread between all. You heard a lot of the same things over the years, but you refuse to do any of it. And here we are, a very unhealthy, super morbidly obese, fraudy beauty who can barely walk, barely breathe, breathing heavy while sitting still. When you walk, you have to walk on the inside arches of your feet to balance your weight. Ma'am, your body is giving you so many signs it's in trouble, and you don't want to listen because you think you're unbreakable. Well, if you're in bad health and you can barely breathe and you can barely walk and your back hurts, apparently you are breakable.
Words like the type of diction choice you use, such as I am going to, it already sets it off for, like when you, right then and there, it just, you need to use language like I've done, I'm doing, in the moment type of language. So the earliest memory I can.
And that's something that Foodie does a lot of. She does that defeatist language. And when she talks about dieting or getting healthy, she uses terminology and terms that point in the direction of, even though she says she's going to give it her all, she's already building a back door or a window to leap out of, just in case she wants out. She's not looking at it from the perspective of there's one door in front of me and there's no door behind me, so I have got to go forward versus going backward. Mentally, emotionally, she gives up before she even starts. If I do this, if I do that, I'm probably going to fail. That kind of thinking means you're going to fail. You're already planning to fail. You're already planning to stop something. That kind of thinking means you're never going to be a winner at anything. You're always going to be a loser because you're already planning on losing. You're already looking for a way out.
Can remember regarding food. I think I've said this before, but I remember when I was very young, my mother and I were on our own, and she was a single teenage mom. She was 17 when she had me, and we moved away from the family home from her mother and father. Were living with them for a while. She wanted to move out on her own and do it on her own, and my father was an alcoholic, so she left him and didn't let him around me for a long time until he sobered up. And things were really difficult. I remember we were on welfare, and but I remember her always, we were always very close to one another. I always felt love from her, if not from anybody else in the world, from her and my grandmother, but a lot from her. And we are still very close to this day. And I remember, treats she would get me here and there. I remember my first bag of chips. I don't remember much else about my childhood. I do remember my first bag of chips. It was a
That
sunny day.
that is so sad to me. That of an entire childhood, you don't remember much. You remember the food, but you don't remember much else. There's no other happy memories. It's just memories of food. I have questions. I have questions, Foodie. Is it because you and your mother were on welfare and the only time you got, say, snacks was just on a special occasion? And maybe that's where this obsession with fast food, processed food came from. I don't know. I'm just simply asking questions here. But even if that were the case of you grew up in a time when your mom didn't have much money and snacks were a special thing. I mean, that was then and this is now. You're an adult now. You can have whatever food you want. And anything in excess is bad for you. I mean, anything. Could be food, could be something else, but you're an adult and you should not be compensating for lack of snacks or processed food in your childhood and bringing that over into your adult life and turning what's wrong with you into a job and monetizing it. You really shouldn't be doing that. Not at all. So I'm just curious about that. Is the reason why you became obsessed with processed food, unhealthy food, is because you grew up at a time when your mom didn't have a lot of money and snacks were like a special treat, and you took that and turned it into an adult life where it's nothing but processed food. It's nothing but bad food. I don't know. Only a doctor would know that. Only a therapist could figure that out for you.
And there was a corner store across the street. There was one in the building we lived in as well, but there was one across the street. I think it was a Max Milk convenience store, and we went there together. And I remember just looking up at the sky. I had a bag of dill pickle chips, and it had one of those stick-on tattoos in it. And from then on, I was just hooked on dill pickle chips. They're my favorite. I don't know if that was my first bag of chips. Actually, I mean, that's my first memory of my first bag of the bag of chips. So I remember looking up. There was like a billboard advertisement sign. Those ones that like they have tiles that switch over into another advertisement. I remember that. I remember eating the chips and just really enjoying the chips. And I think overall, my mother did try to feed me relatively healthily. Um, she really tried to, you know, even in school, like I said, it was very rare occasion where I would get a lunch with a lot of good snacks like fruit roll-ups, Dunkaroos, Gushers, those types of things, Lunchables. She usually just gave me like a sandwich and a fruit and a juice box or something like that. Very rarely did I get any unhealthy snacks. So I don't know where I developed this really intense love for these types of foods, but I know that whenever I was spoiled a lot by my grandparents, and my grandmother on my dad's side would babysit me a lot. My mom would be working or whatever after school.
I'm getting this feeling that in her family, food was used as a way to express love. And there are a lot of families that do that. Like, I come from a Southern family, huge. I often joke that I don't have a family tree, I have an orchard. I have relatives that I don't even know, never met, that the family is just so large. But in my family, and I grew up in a family where a lot of the people in my family were overweight or slightly overweight. My grandmother, she loved to cook, and she could cook, my grandma. And our idea of portion control was there's no more food left on the plate. But having a family member or members that give you food, it doesn't mean it's going to turn into an obsession. And that's what happened to you. Food became an obsession. And it's still an obsession. It's an obsession to this day. You're over there talking about WLS and you are still obsessed with food. The only thing in life you look forward to is food. The only thing that gives you happiness is food. There's nothing else. Everything you like and you enjoy starts out as something you like, and then you get wrapped around it and obsessed with it, and the obsession takes over. You start out riding the horse, and then the horse rides you. And I'm going to say this once again, like, this comes from a movie, Doctor Sleep. This is where I heard it. Never forget this once I heard it. The man takes a drink, the drink takes a drink, and then the drink takes a man. In your case, you are a woman, and replace the drink with food. So Chantal eats food, the food eats food, and then the food eats foodie. Now that's pretty much appropriate. The food is doing you harm. Your issues mentally, emotionally are doing you harm. And you know this and you don't care. You've given up on improving your life, Fraudy. And that's entirely by your choice. Nobody can stop you, nobody can make you a better person, but you've let all of your obsessions and addictions take over. And you're not trying to pull them back in. And the sad part about addiction, it ruins lives and it takes lives. There's a lot of people that have addictions that they never make it out on the other side. And it hurts them and it hurts the people around them. You, as an addict, you hurt, but the people around you hurt even more because they're watching all of this go down. There's not a single doggone thing they can do except just hope for the best. So your quality of life or non-quality of life is entirely in your hands.
When we moved back to my hometown, and I remember another memory of her just getting very cross with me, and being concerned enough to tell my mother about it. But when she would babysit me, I would I just remember the food she made me. That's all that I remember, and that comforting feeling about going to her house, and she would sit at the stove smoking and making her sweet and sour meatballs. She made chicken nuggets with this like Diana sauce. I remember loving that. These magic moment vanilla puddings and butterscotch puddings. Oh my gosh, those were good. And she would give me some, and then I would ask for more. So she would give me more, and then I would ask for more. And I remember her at one point, I would ask for more until she yelled at me, and she would say, "C'est assez là," like in French, like that's enough. You already had enough snacks. And she would tell my mother when she would pick me up, she asked, I had to give her I had to get a bit cross with her because she was asking for a lot of food. And that's all I would look forward to when I would go to see any of my grandparents. My grandmother, she let me just come over and just raid her cupboards. I would just, the first thing I would do is go to her cupboards, find snacks, and I think
So,
just
I'm not putting the blame entirely on the family because I know that I've heard that they did try to get her into a clinic or something for EDs, but they should have kept at it. I mean, the family, they were the first line of defense. They were the first ones to know. And they didn't see the way she was eating and the way she was being as a problem. They gave up. They absolutely gave up far too early. Again, I'm not entirely blaming her family because she's an adult now. Even if the family did not do their complete due diligence with fixing her or trying to fix her, she's an adult now. She's almost 40. She knows she's got a problem. She knows she's got several issues. And she's got the money, the time, the resources to get herself help and get herself straight. And she's not doing it. She's doing the complete opposite. She's coming on YouTube. She's profiting off of her issues and her problems. She's looking for people to support her and enable her and be concerned for her. She's doing everything but what she needs to do to fix herself. And now she's talking about WLS like it's some magic wand that she can wave over herself and everything's going to be fixed. It won't. It absolutely won't. Chantal, you're not going to be approved for WLS. No doctor with a degree is going to operate on you. You're in extremely poor health. You've said yourself, as a diabetic, that your wounds would be slow to heal. And you're not very hygienic. You would not keep the wounds clean. There would be a chance of serious infection. So why should they operate on you, knowing you have an issue with food? You're not even trying to get yourself to a point where WLS would be safe for you. You're not trying to correct your diet. You're not cutting out the soda, which after WLS, no more soda, ma'am, no more carbonated drinks, no more nothing like that. It's going to take you almost 2 years to get the surgery, perhaps even 3. You're not even bothering to start the steps to get yourself used to eating differently, being differently. You've always gone for the quick fixes. You'll build up a problem and then look for a quick fix to the problem, and the quick fixes never work. With your problem, trying to use WLS to fix everything, that's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound about 60 feet wide and 60 feet thick. It's not going to hold. The Band-Aid's just going to fall off. It's not strong enough. You want the wound to be closed up, you got to get started with the healing, the true healing.
eating snacks at her place all day long. It would just be food was just involved in my life every single day. I mean, we do all eat, but it would be on my mind as anything I do in my life. It would revolve around food. Like whenever I was younger, even going to theme parks, I was always interested in. You go to like on a school trip.
My question is why? Why were you so obsessed with food? Like, what is this obsession with food? Why were you so hyper fixated on food? As if you aren't going to get any more food. What was this obsession with? I have to eat as much as possible whenever possible. I have to grab at every snack there is, every soda there is. What is this obsession with over consuming? Where did that come from? How did that get started? Why are you so hyper fixated on food like you're starving or you're going to starve? And if you don't grab it when it's there, you're not going to get any more. Where does that come from, Chantal?
We would go to a theme park and an amusement park, and everyone would bring a packed lunch and not think anything about it. They would be thinking more about the rides. I would be thinking more about the food in the cafeteria, and I would just remember really, really longing for lunch money. Most of the time I didn't get it, But when I did get money, I would just be like, yes, I can buy lunch at the canteen, French fries, whatever. I was always interested in the
And by the way, guys, don't think I'm not thinking right now. I know the rule. Chantal lies, Chantal tells on herself. I am very aware that listening to this story, that I'm getting Chantal's version of the story. It doesn't mean it's the absolute truth. She might be completely lying here. I'm just reacting to what she's saying, like her version of things. Although I'm very aware that it might be completely different. She's saying she didn't get money for canteen, blah, blah, blah. How do I know that's the truth? I don't know. She's painting this picture of she was deprived of food, but obviously she wasn't deprived of food. She was well fed, but she's trying to paint this picture right now of I didn't have much money for lunch and that's why I did it. I doubt that's the truth, Chantal.
food. Even I remember my stepfather used to try and involve me more. We would, as our we're building our relationship, he would take me. He played hockey when I was really young.
Now, this is something that I've heard and I can't confirm. I've heard as far as Chantal's family that her father, her biological father, he was a heavy drinker, an alcoholic, but he was also much into food the way that Chantal is. So he had the same problem that she did. Maybe not with an ED, but he ate a lot.
And he would take me with him. And the only reason I really liked to go, sadly, if I'm honest with myself, was because after the game, he would buy me a hot chocolate in the chuck wagon. If you don't know what a chuck wagon is, it's like a hoagie, and there's like different lunch meats and cheese and mustard, and just really good. I don't know if that's because whenever my mother was pregnant for me, she said the one thing she ate a lot of was chuck wagons, putsins, and she was always craving that. So she ate a lot of that when she was pregnant with me in high school. And she actually was, it was very taboo for her to be pregnant in high school at her age, 16. So she was in a lot of trouble with that. But anyway, I digress. So basically, that is, even at school, the cafeteria food, every day chicken burger puts in. The chicken burgers were so good. I'd get like 3 packs of mayo. I was just an excessive eater and obsessed with food, and it becomes a habit. It becomes, you just mindless. You don't think about it. It's so part of your life now. I mean, from a
You know what? Even bad habits are meant to be broken. If you pick up a habit, you can break a habit, especially if you have a habit that you know is destroying you and hurting your health. That's a habit that needs to be broken immediately. What you don't do is make it into something profitable on YouTube and destroy your health with it. And look for people that enable you and keep it going. I'm going to say it outright, Chantal. When we watch you, we're not just watching somebody on YouTube with a channel making content, showing their face. What we're watching, ma'am, in layman's terms, is an addict getting on camera, getting their fix, and getting high in front of full view of the public and expecting the public to support them and compensate them, and looking towards YouTube to also support and compensate them. And that's something that really shouldn't be on YouTube. It's one thing to do in private and hurt yourself, and that's a bad thing. But to do it in front of people and look for people to support you and pay you for it, to pay you for you using something to get high and get a sugar rush, not cool. Not cool at all. Especially considering the fact that there are people on YouTube, just people wandering through YouTube looking for videos to watch. They might have EDs, maybe BED, maybe another kind of ED. They're just wandering on YouTube looking for content, and you, yes, you, over there, you put all kinds of tags on your videos to get yourself into all different kinds of algorithms. And you have used tags saying BED recovery, things of that nature. People who might be in recovery for their BED, they're looking for videos that talk about recovery. They're going to wander onto your video, and clearly you are not in recovery. You're not even close. You're not even halfway there. You could be triggering those people to relapsing, to having B moments. Do you have any respect for those who have BED, that have gone through those struggles, that have gone through that private hell? Of course you don't. One minute you're talking about BED recovery, the next minute you're using tags saying what a fat girl eats in a day, playing all sides of the field, not sticking to one side nor the other, all to make money, all to keep your addictions going, especially food, especially that one. That's a big one. And I know it's tough. It's really tough to have a problem with food, because how do you stop something that you have to keep consuming? That was the question that I didn't have an answer for years. And then I learned different keys to dealing with it. You have to treat food with respect. You can't overuse it. You can't use it as medicine for anything. You can't treat it disrespectfully. You can't be obsessed with it. You can't put emotional anchors on food. You have to look at it for what it is and treat it for what it is. And you can't overconsume. These are things that you don't know and you don't want to know, because you're too busy making money off your problems and profiting off of all your hurts. And you have no plans to stop. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, I think you're trying to find a way. You're trying to use WLS as a way to continue what you do. You want to get the surgery, and you think through the surgery that's going to force you to eat smaller amounts, right? And through that, you're going to lose weight. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. I doubt it, because you're still going to have those thoughts. Okay, your own mind can sometimes be your worst enemy. You're all there by yourself, and you'll start thinking about food. When you start thinking about it, you're going to want to do it. And that bee monster, it's been well fed for years, and you're going to expect it to shut up just because of the surgery? Nope. It's only going to get louder. And if you have a channel where your content is food, you're getting on camera eating, and then you get in a live chat with people talking about food, talking about their favorite foods, and I just had this, and I had that. All that talk about food is going to make you think of food. And when you think about it, you're going to want to do it. And you might do it on camera, you might do it off camera. But if you have WLS, you're just going to make yourself sick. Or it might unalive you. So no, it's not a quick fix. It's not. Because the mind is where the monster is. And if you don't deal with that, the monster will never, ever go away.
Young age, you're just obsessed. And because I still think that today there's a little more awareness, but food addiction is still, in my eyes, one of the least understood addictions.
You know what, though? You're right. I will give you that. I will give you that point. Issues with food are not as well understood. It's easy to understand someone who has a problem with, say, alcohol or illegal drugs, because we as people, we associate alcohol or party favors with being bad. It's toxic. It's something that we can easily stay away from. Food is something that people look at as being normal, not harmful. But as I pointed out, it can easily be harmful if you overconsume it and if you get obsessed with it, which you are. In my opinion, Chantal, I think you in the past, you have used the fact that people don't look at food as being bad. You have taken advantage of the fact that people don't understand BEDs to your advantage. Example, Salah. I'm pretty sure Salah, he doesn't understand BEDs. He's not knowledgeable about them. You took advantage of that, didn't you? You downplayed the problem. You said, oh, I just like to eat. And I get on YouTube and this is how I make my living. And he just rolled with it, not realizing that he had a serious addict on his hands, a serious food addict. And that was going to be problematic later, very problematic. Your issues were way over his head, they're way over your head, but he didn't understand it. He didn't understand it then. He doesn't understand it now. He doesn't have the full comprehension of it. You do, but you're always downplaying the issue versus surrendering and saying, this issue is over my head. I need help. And if you're someone out there, if you have an issue, if you have an addiction, you have an obsession that is hurting you, it's ruining your life, it's taking things away from you, there is absolutely no shame or embarrassment in admitting that to yourself. And then going to other people around you, family members, friends, and saying, I have this issue. And reaching out for help and reaching out for resources. There are people that are willing to help you if you let yourself be helped. If you reach that point where you say, I need help, certainly reach out for it. Don't live in a state of denial, because that state of denial is going to hurt you and hurt people around you indirectly. But you, Chantal, you like to take advantage of people that don't understand it. You like to downplay it, you like to lie about it, but all that's doing is making you worse.
Even searching for help with food addiction online in my area, Overeaters Anonymous is pretty much the only thing I can find. Everything else.
At least there's that. If that's all you have, you should take it. If you only have one resource, one website, one group that could help you, it's still one. And you should go and talk to somebody. If that's the only path there is, take it, walk it, run it, do whatever you got to do. Just saying, oh, there's only one and there's no more, at least it's something. It'll get the ball rolling. So you just saw the one and said, no, it's not worth my time. If you cared about your health, it would be worth your time. If you cared about yourself, it would be worth your time, but you really don't care. You want to be on YouTube and you think you're incredibly smart, incredibly clever. You thought, I'll just get on YouTube and all I have to do is turn on a camera and eat and I can make money. Okay, so you did. But now you're at a place where you're dangerously unhealthy, so now what? How clever were you back then to turn your issues and your problems and your obsessions and your addictions into content? Was that the smart thing to do? No, it was really, really stupid. It was really, really dumb, Chantal. Shouldn't have done that. But you did it. There's no rewinding the clock. There's no making things better. You're just going to make yourself worse because you won't get proper help.
Is lumped into addictions counseling, where they mostly list the normal addictions or the addictions that are more well known, like alcohol, drugs, that type of thing, gambling. But you very rarely see somebody specializing in only food addiction. And addiction is addiction, that's true. But food addiction is the only addiction that requires you to have some of your addiction, what you're addicted to every single day. It's in your face every single day. You can't avoid it. You can't be abstinent from it totally. You can be abstinent from trigger foods, that's for sure. But it's just, it's something that it's something that I've just realized not long ago.
I don't accept what she's saying here. She's saying you can't avoid food. You can't avoid it. It's in your face. She's partially right. I mean, food is difficult to avoid. It's everywhere. It's in gas stations. It's in grocery stores. It's on corner markets. It's everywhere. But to say that you can't avoid it is wrong. If you have an issue with food and you know that if you have that food near you, then you don't put it near you. If you know that you'll be triggered going to certain places, don't go to them. If you know that by sitting in the house and there's food there in the house that you're going to be tempted to eat, especially in times when you're upset or bored, don't even have it within arm's reach. Golden rule. If you have a problem with food and you can reach out and touch it, it's too close. Keep it out of the house. Just keep it out. And if you are the kind of person that sitting in the house, you've got nothing to do, you've got nothing else to think about, and your mind is going to wander over to food, the best thing you can do is get out of the house. Keep yourself busy. Do something else. Occupy your mind. Play a video game for hours. Go take a walk. Go talk to friends. Be out of the house. Be away from the environment that might tempt you to do what you're going to do. Like I've mentioned, I have a male friend, clean and sober for 35 years. That's part of his successful strategy is he's not going to sit at home and be tempted. He gets out. He's very active. He's gone all day. It works for him. It's been working for him for 35 years. What does Chantal like to do? She doesn't leave the house, surrounded by those four walls and her thoughts and the temptation to eat and the phone in her hand with all those apps. It's all too easy to get that food and bring it near her. She doesn't even have to go out and go get it. She can have it delivered. Take all of those temptations away. Take all of that ease of getting food away. By doing that, you're giving yourself a semblance of self-control and self-restraint. And she doesn't have that. She doesn't have self-control. She doesn't have self-restraint. She doesn't have coping mechanisms and coping skills. She doesn't have anything else to fall back on if she starts to think about food. She surrounds herself with food. She surrounds herself with people that back that up. Her own family. Knowing that she's got an issue with food, she came back to Canada. What did they do? They took her to Red Lobster for her beloved cheddar biscuits. She came home and we've seen her. She went grocery shopping and she bought processed food, Chef Boyardee and all that. She's back to eating the fast food because there's nothing and no one to hold her back. The word no does not exist in her world. It's all yes, yes, yes. Give me, give me, give me. And that word yes is doing a lot of harm to her. And again, this is all by her choice. She's not putting up fences or gates. The pasture is open. She can wander as she will, and she wanders to the wrong places.
All these years of being alive, I'm 34, that I have a problem. I just always never really thought about it or just thought, I just like food. I overeat. It's something I can get a grip on.
That language right there, that term she just used, I overeat. That's a cop out. That's her minimizing the issue. Oh, I don't have a problem with food. I don't have obsession with food. I just overeat. She's excusing her behavior. She's excusing her addiction and making it seem less than what it is. You know, the monster that's 60 feet tall and 3,000 pounds, she's reducing it to the size of an ant so she doesn't feel guilty. So she doesn't even consider the fact that it's bigger than what it is. You know, just like she says all the time, I was craving something. That's also an excuse. That's her excusing the problem. Oh, I was craving it, therefore I should have it. Therefore I should do it. No, you can crave something and say, I want this, but let me just stop and think for a minute. I want it, but should I have it? I don't think I should. I really shouldn't have this. Maybe I need to say no to this craving. Maybe I need to start saying no to this craving every time it comes up. You are allowed to say no as much as you say yes to something. You are a person, Chantal. You have your free will. You can tell yourself no. If you crave poutine or spaghetti or pizza, which are your trigger foods, you know that they're your trigger foods. You can say, no, I don't want that. I do want that, but I shouldn't have it. So I'm just shutting that down right now. Start using the word no in your vocabulary. Start putting it in your mind. When the bee monster starts whispering in your ear and saying, come on, let's go get some Starbucks. How about a nice hot pizza with pepperoni and mushrooms and lots of cheese? You know what you tell that bee monster? Shut up. Shut up and stop talking. Stop talking to me. You're horrible. Be quiet. You know that thing you used to do on your channel? That I said thing? Do that in your head for the bee monster. And while you're doing that, go to therapy. Talk to somebody that can help you. Stop avoiding the therapy. The one thing that can make you the most healthy is the one thing you're avoiding. That therapist or group of therapists or doctors, that can make you healthier than the WLS on its own. And without those therapists, that WLS can't do anything for you. You got to get this straight. You got to clean out the attic before the basement can get cleaned. Do you feel me? Got to clean that out. It's full of clutter. It's dirty. It's dusty up there. It's putrid. Clean it. It's causing problems.
Never realized that it's developed into a disease, an illness, something that's really hurting my body, something that's controlling my mind or trying to control my mind and make me act.
I'm probably going to get corrected in the comments. And if I'm wrong, I'm willing to say that I'm wrong and I'm willing to be corrected. I don't look at BED as a disease. It's a disorder. Maybe she's using the term disease to kind of further excuse what she's doing by labeling it as a disease. I don't think it's a disease, though. I think it's a disorder. It is a problem, but it can be corrected. There's lots of people that have had BED and they've corrected it. They did the work. They went through all the hard work. They went through the hell and they came out the other side. So if they did it, why can't she do it? Because she doesn't want to. She thinks in terms of, I can't do it. It's too hard. I don't want to be uncomfortable. Any change in life, Chantal, is going to be uncomfortable. The more serious the problem, the more uncomfortable you're going to feel. You're going to feel stressed. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel angry. You're digging through the dirt to find the gold, and it may take a while to dig down just that deep and get it out. So the big question is, do you want the gold? Do you want the reward? Then you got to dig through the dirt. You got to get the filth out of the way. Got to get it out of the way. You want positive change? Stop making excuses. Stop using dismissive language. Saying to yourself, I'm craving something, therefore I should have it. Stop thinking to yourself, I can't. It's too hard, blah, blah, blah. Stop it. You could. You just don't want to because you're too busy profiting off your issues and making them everybody else's concern. You have to be concerned first. If you don't care, don't expect anybody else to care. Don't expect anybody else's sympathy or understanding or empathy. You don't deserve those things. You really, really don't. You've got to take the first step. Long ago, you were given a cup of plenty. You were given a golden cup of opportunity. You wandered onto YouTube, making all kinds of money. And because of that, anything you wanted to do to fix yourself, you could do. You want to hire someone to make you healthy food? You had the money. You want to buy exercise equipment? You could have done that. You want to go to therapy? You could have paid for that. Anything you wanted. Instead, you chose to take that cup of plenty and turn it into a toxic cup of poison, using your cup of plenty to hurt yourself and commit self-harm in front of everybody else. This is why no one feels sorry for you. That's why all the reactors in the community, we don't feel sorry for you. You are not someone that you can get on YouTube and say, I have these issues and there's no way to fix it. I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. I don't have the time. You had all of that in abundance, but you took that abundance and turned it into a lifestyle of excess and addiction. So don't expect us to feel sorry for you. We don't. And we won't until you fix yourself. And even then,
in a way that I'm just completely losing touch. Further and further I go into this illness, I'm losing touch with who I am. I'm losing control of who I am. Overeaters Anonymous would even argue that you have to admit that you have no control over it. Um, I'm conflicted with some of their doctrines, so I'm not too sure how I feel about that. But I'm really now just at a point where I'm like, what now? And I'm trying to make sense, I guess, by going in the past and trying to figure out the pattern or where the source of this obsession with food. And when I really think about it, is it just was.
but you're coming on YouTube, you've gone into your past and you've looked at your childhood, you looked at your early years, and you've come to the conclusion that a lot of your happy memories revolve around food. You come on YouTube telling everybody this stuff, but you're not going into actual therapy when you can work it out in private. And the focus would be on you and what's going on with you versus this is content for YouTube. Years you've spent getting on YouTube telling everybody else about your issues, but you won't go to therapy. You'll talk to thousands of people about what's wrong with you, but you won't talk to one person in private and work it out. Chantal, people get on YouTube to be entertained. They want to find channels that entertain them. They want to get on a channel and watch someone and feel good. Can anybody really say that about you and your channel anymore? Because things got really dark really, really fast. And they've stayed that way. I don't think any of your VIBs can honestly say that when they watch you, they get good feelings, get good positive vibes. I don't think there's a single VIB that can say, I come to Chantal's channel and I look forward to her content. She inspires me, and she inspires me to be a better person, to work out, to take care of myself. None of them can say that. What they would probably say if they could speak up is, I go to Chantal's channel and I'm constantly concerned. I'm watching a woman who is sick and getting sicker. That she is super morbidly obese. She talks about her health problems. She talks about her diabetes. She shows us the high blood sugar, talks about her fatty liver, her enlarged heart. I can hear that she has trouble breathing, and I'm concerned. You keep everybody in a state of worry. But you're not getting on your channel and saying, here's the problem, and here's also the solution. You don't come to YouTube and say, here's the problem, but I'm looking for a solution, and this is what I'm doing. You don't come to the table with solutions. You come to the table with problems. You air out your problems, but there's no resolve to any of them. And no one is made better by your content, not you, not your audience. It's just an ongoing state of worry and concern for the people that like you. And despite all the criticism that you get, you don't take it in, listen to it, process it, and then do something about it. And so this cycle continues.
Always there. There's no traumatic event that I can think about. I mean, food was just always there, always comforting me through everything in life, not just one traumatic event. Good events, traumatic events, good events, bad times, every time was covered with a protection of food.
Wait, how does food protect you? Okay, I'm going to say something. I'm thinking right now about the fact that when Chantal looks towards men, in a really weird way, and this is just my opinion now, It's like she's trying to find someone who will act almost like a father figure. She's got daddy issues. Just things going on with her and her biological father. But when she looks for men that she feels are dominant and strong. She looks for men that are caring and protective, almost like a father would be. She's looking for some sort of guardian or protector. Now she's describing food in the same way. She's looking at food from an emotional standpoint, like food is going to protect me. My question is how? How is food going to protect you? How does a Nashi or a Twisty Misty or a pizza going to protect you? That processed food is not protecting you, it's harming you because you're doing far too much of it. That's all you eat is processed food. I would not look at food as protection, but I would think that healthy food would be more protective of you than unhealthy food because a healthy food is good for you, it's protecting your health, it's giving you vitamins and minerals and nutrients versus the processed food that has nothing in it of value. When you eat processed food, it's like dumping a bag of garbage down your throat with nothing the body can truly feed on. Your body looks at it and says, oh, thanks for another bag of garbage. But there's nothing in here that we can use, so we're going to make you hungry again. And so therefore you stay on that hamster wheel of always being hungry. Food is not protective. It is not a person. It's nothing emotional. Again, take the emotional anchors off of food. Stop looking at it as protection or comfort or love. It can't protect you. It can't love you back. It can't give you a hug or a kiss or talk to you, work out your issues with you. And in your case, because you have an obsession with it, it's creating issues. This is why you need to go to therapy and straighten your head out.
And I'm terrified of taking that away. Even now, as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about food. I'm terrified of taking that away because honestly, it feels like there's nothing. There's nothing.
Right, right. What did I say? Nature hates a vacuum. We as people, we are motivated by happiness and reward. So let's think in these terms. If you are a person and you got one single thing that makes you happy, just one thing, there's nothing else in your world that makes you happy, just that one single solitary thing, are you going to let go of that thing? Because if that thing weren't there, what else would there be? You'd have a life of nothing, nothing to look forward to, nothing to put a smile on your face. Chantal has structured her world to just that one thing that makes her happy. That's why she won't let go of it. For her to get away from this obsession, this addiction to food, she's going to have to find something or a group of things to replace that one thing. Things that she looks forward to, things that make her happy. She's not willing to do that. She's not even looking around to find something. Everything she likes becomes another addiction, another obsession. She sees a man, she gets herself wrapped around a man, she gets obsessed with the man. She tries to control the man through money, trying to exert power over him. She doesn't know how to do things halfway. It's either I don't like it or I'm too obsessed with it. So food is everything to you. It's been everything to you since you were young. And you don't think that's a problem? That one thing that you go to for everything, for comfort, for love, for to feel protected, this isn't a problem. There's so many other things in life to enjoy, Chantal. So many other things that give you happiness and joy and love, healthy things. But getting those things would mean you would have to change yourself, your outlook, your lifestyle. You would have to get out of the house and meet people and do things and be more active. And that would require you being uncomfortable. And as you said, you are not about that life of being uncomfortable. You avoid it. But if you didn't avoid it, the reward would be your world would expand. It would grow. It would become bigger, as opposed to just being in a little room with you in the addiction of whatever it is. Addiction, when you are an addict, when you're deep into your addiction, it's like being in a very tiny room with yourself and whatever it is you're addicted to. And that's all your world is. That's all you see. That's all you're consumed with. It makes your world very, very tiny and very, very unhappy. You talk about being a world traveler. How are you going to travel the world if you're locked in a box with your addiction and it's on top of you and it's controlling you? You know, addiction, it's a jealous mistress, much like you are. It's another version of you. It's a jealous mistress that once it gets full control, it doesn't want to share you with anyone else. It takes away your family, your friends, your social life, perhaps even money out of your bank account. It wants all of your time, all of your attention, all of your resources, and it becomes your master. And food has become your master. And thinking that some simple surgery is going to break those chains? No, no, because the master is up here, not in your stomach.
With my video yesterday, finding happiness without food. What happiness, you know? It's going to take me a while to realize that there's other things. The other things don't appeal to me right now. The only thing that appeals to me is food.
Why?
I don't care about, and I know that's such a bad way to think. Um, and it's just, yeah, it's just always been on my mind.
That's because it's in your mind. It's on your mind because it's in your mind. And having a channel where you create this toxic system of enabling, the cycle will continue. It will. To break away from the addiction, you got to break away from the cycle and the circle of enabling that you created. That's the only way it's going to go down. No other way. Even if you got weight loss surgery, what's going to happen? You come back from the surgery, right? Still got your YouTube channel. You're going to get online. You're going to talk to people. They're going to mention food to you. You're going to talk about food with them. What's that going to lead to? You going out to Starbucks, you going out to Burger King, getting your nashies, you snacking on camera with a stomach the size of a teacup, and that's going to lead to you vomiting. By being always around food, thinking about food, talking about food, it's going to keep that wheel turning. So give up on the weight loss surgery. As long as you're on that treadmill and you're not willing to get off, you're going to keep walking with it. You're going to keep talking with it. You're going to keep communicating with it. Ain't nothing going to change.
It's like a lover.
Oh, there we go again. Did you guys catch that part? She just said it's like a lover. Again, describing her issue with food in emotional terms. She said earlier that she has a relationship with food. Now she's saying it's just like a lover. This is bad. This shows me, Chantal, that your love of food, your obsession with food, your addiction to food, it runs deep. You're looking at food from an emotional standpoint. You're treating it as something emotional. Long ago, those of us that have been around long enough, we remember her fast food funerals, don't we? Think about that for a minute. Let that sink in. She's so deep into food. She's so emotional about food that she had actual funerals for fast food. Funerals are something you do that's living, whether it's for a pet or a person, and you're mourning the loss. You're grieving the loss. And it's an emotional loss. But having multiple fast food funerals, yeah, you got deep, hardcore, emotional anchors on food. You got to get them off. You really got to get them off.
It's a dysfunctional relationship because I know food is not my friend, it's not my
Nope.
protection. Ironically, it's the one thing that is doing the opposite of
Right?
protecting me. It's hurting
Mhm.
me. It's killing
Yep.
me. It's made me sick. I have sleep apnea. I have a like pretty bad hormonal imbalance that's causing ovarian cysts, and I can hardly walk anymore. Uh,
And remember, she said this 5 years ago. She's detailing all of these issues 5 years ago. So she's getting on camera here, and you can see she's a lot smaller. I can barely walk. So, what are her conditions now? She's much heavier now. She could barely walk then. She can barely walk now. She had ovarian cysts. But if you guys remember, there was an occasion where she went to the ER because she ate too much cheese. She had to go to the ER for that. And yet, that did not stop her from eating cheese. She's also had her gallbladder removed, which means she shouldn't be eating cheese, period. So, despite the fact that this woman has gone through some serious medical issues and even operations because of her problem with food, she hasn't stopped. That's why she needs inpatient, that she won't get. That's why she needs therapy, that she also won't get. And until she's ready to get it, we are basically cruising towards the inevitable end. And I hate to say that, but some people, they just get lost in their addictions and they never find their way out.
it's affecting my relationships with people,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, you know. So I'm still looking into different help I can get. Um, this is, like I said, this is a very, it's not a quick process to healing, but I want to continually keep on the road of healing. I think it
You're not healing though, because you only go a few steps. You don't go the rest of the way. You look into help. Maybe you make a couple of phone calls, but you don't go further than that. You've always been a dreamer. You've always dreamed out loud, talked out loud, because talking is cheap and it's free. And it's something you can do and you don't have to commit to anything. You'll talk about a blueprint for making a good life, but you won't sit down and draw it out and then get to work on making it happen. You know, your idea of healing is kind of lazy. Talk about it, but don't be about it. Hence why nothing has changed and it's only gotten worse.
is possible. So yeah, so I just wanted to talk about that. When I think about it, about 28 years of my life or so have been consumed by food.
Wait a minute. 28 years. She was 34 here, 28. So since 5 years old, you had an issue with food since you were five? Wow. And you don't think it's a problem enough to fix it now? And you think WLS is going to fix all this with that amount of time spent being obsessed with food? Girl, come on. Impatient.
And every memory I can think of, I remember the food first. I don't remember the experience first. I remember the food first. And I just really want food to get the fuck out of my head. I really do. Um, and it's tiring because it's like I'm gonna be like this forever.
She just said it. We as people The way you think dictates the way you are. If you want to change your life, you have to change your mind. You have to change the way you think. You change the way you think, then you can change the way you do things. She just said, I'm going to be this way forever. She just basically made her own prophecy. I'm going to be this way forever. Versus, I don't want to be this way forever. I don't like this. I want to change this, and I'm going to figure out a way to do it. That kind of language is progressive. It means you have reached a point, you're tired of it, and you want to change, and you're going to move forward. Versus staying the way that you are and saying to yourself, this is hopeless, it's pointless, I'm too weak, I don't have the willpower, therefore I'm just going to give up. So 5 years ago, she had this defeatist way of thinking. And here we are now, 5 years later, still thinking that way, still finding excuses, still finding cop-outs, trying to find some quick fix, looking towards anything to make her lose weight, to help her lose weight, looking towards Ozempic. What can a simple shot do against an ongoing gigantic addiction? It can't do much. It's just a shot that can only do what it's supposed to do, which is control your blood sugar. What can weight loss surgery do except reduce the size of your stomach, but it can't fix your head? Quick fixes don't work in cases like you, Foodie. They just don't. Too many layers here, too much complexities, okay? You got to tackle all of it, or none of it's going to work. Stop looking for the shortcuts. It took you 5 years on YouTube to get to this point. This problem was ongoing even before YouTube. So quick fixes are not going to apply. It's not going to stick. Stop trying to find the cheap, easy, free way out. Find the true way out if you care.
It's going to get easier. Maybe I will be completely cured. Maybe.
Ma'am, anybody who's ever dealt with an addiction knows that once you're an addict to something, you are forever an addict. I'm in recovery for BED, but I still have the addiction. It's just not ongoing. It's not controlling me. I'm controlling it. I'm saying no. No, I'm not going to overconsume. I'm not going to use it as a friend or medicine or replacement for love. I'm in control. I am. I got this. I'm going to look at food and treat food the way it's supposed to be treated. I'm going to give it the respect it deserves. And by doing that, I'm respecting myself. I'm controlling myself. You haven't reached that stage yet. But once you're an addict, you're always an addict. You're either on the side of the fence with recovery or not, but you're forever an addict. Because there's always that chance somewhere that you're going to fall off the horse, although you can get back on. So there's no complete cure here, just recovery. But recovery is a wonderful thing. The freedom that you feel being in recovery cannot be measured. It cannot be compared to anything. To be free of something that gets on top of you and controls you for a while, ruins your life. Recovery is fantastic. It's stupendous. I can't recommend it enough. And I can't urge anybody out there enough that if you've got an issue, reach out for help. Surrender. There's no shame or embarrassment. Just get the help you need. That's what it's there for. She's got access to everything she needs. She knows what she needs to do. She's just not freaking doing it. I'm not trying to be negative here, but she is a lost cause. Just because she knows the problem, she's not one to treat the problem. She's already given up. She's already thrown up her hands and said, I quit. Too hard, uncomfortable. That's why despite the fact that all the VIBs hope for her, there really is no hope. And if there's going to be hope, it's going to be hope that she makes for herself, not for anybody hoping for her. It's got to start with her.
I don't know, but it's. I don't think an addict of any kind is an addict is always at risk of relapse, whether 2 months down the road, 6 months, 6 years, 20 years. There's always a chance of relapse, and I think the key is learning how to deal with those urges to relapse. That's all you can do.
Right? That's why you need coping mechanisms, coping skills, therapy, finding something to replace that which is toxic in your life that you're fixated on with something non toxic and healthy. Restructuring your life to where things are better versus worse. Are you willing to restructure yourself? Are you willing to better yourself? To get away from this obsession? To stop focusing so much on the persona and focus more on the person? To stand still and say, I've got issues, I've got problems, I've ruined my life, I've ruined everything, and I'm willing to rebuild. Are you willing to do that? To do that would mean you would have to take some accountability and develop self awareness and have regret and remorse for the things that you've done and the people you've hurt in so many ways. I don't think you could do it, Fraudy. I think if you had to stand still and face yourself as you are and admit the truths about yourself and admit how much hurt you've caused, it would be overwhelming. It would be too much. To be truthful for once in your life would be too much. And so you spend your life running and escaping from everything you've done and just pretending it never happened.
Just roll with the punches. You can't really avoid them. And when I went to see a cognitive behavior therapist, they talked about ways of coping with coping mechanisms, because avoiding feelings and negative parts of life, it's not realistic, it's not healthy. You need to learn how to cope with them. So that's what I'm learning. And yeah, so anyways, this is all just a lot of realizations are actually happening to me lately, and that's all I can be grateful for right now is the ability to be aware, the ability to learn from everything. That's all. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I know it's a bit depressing. That's my reality, and you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are in similar situations who can relate. And I'm doing it for you guys so we can support one another, and just keep going. So, anyways,
Well, that's your first mistake, doing it for everybody else before you do it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else but you. You got to do it for you.
guys, I thank you a lot for watching this video. I will have a vlog out tomorrow, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.
So that was the vlog that she put out 5 years ago. You guys can see this was 5 years ago. This was at a time when Fraudy was being just a smidgen of honest with herself. Although nothing has really changed, everything's gotten worse. Her health is worse. And now she's reaching for WLS as a quick fix, although that's not going to work either. So I just wanted to react to this video because I think with everything going on, it's still relevant. The Fraudy of 5 years ago is this Fraudy of now. Like in the space of 5 years, nothing positive has come about. Nothing positive has happened. She did not get on top of any of her health problems or her food issue. She's let it get completely on top of her and out of control. And she did that willingly. because she was making so much money. But now she's arrived at a place where her body just can't take much more. So I guess we're going to see what happens from here. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this react video. If you have, please like and subscribe and leave a comment. Thank you so much for being here and have a good one. Bye now.